Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is February 19th. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to repeat again. Please check that you continue to be subscribed and that that your notification bell is on if you're wanting to receive notifications. I'm still getting reports of people who kind of are missing things, not getting notifications, have to go searching. So I don't know what's going on, but just, if I go quiet for too long, go look for me because God knows I'm not quiet for very long ever. So, there are videos coming out pretty much continually. And if you're not finding them, then, just double make sure that you're subscribed. Okay, a couple pieces of housekeeping. First, thank you very much on Paul's behalf for the interest in the pendulums. It is an Etsy store, and from what I understand, it is Aquarius age things. But Paul, I know you're out there and I know you're listening. Please go through the comment section and connect with the people who are having trouble finding you, because that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing. So if you are one of those people that left a message there or a comment saying, I can't find it, I'm getting no results, just check back to your comment. I would say within the next, 12, 24 hours. I'm sure it's not going to take Paul very long to react. And you should be getting some answers. So there's that. Second, I received a link from one of my viewers named Jane, who sent me this link to this person named Marla Kelly. And I would call her an intuitive astrologer. So Marla, M-A-R-L-A, and Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, and it's called Marla Kelly Twinstrology. Okay, so it's the word twins and astrology smushed together. I found her really easy by just, looking her up in the YouTube lookup place. She popped right up. So here's a little story. Since last summer, I have been muttering and mumbling under my breath about the fact that I can't help but feel that Trump was connected to the Romanovs. Tsar Nicholas of Russia, because it made such perfect sense to me. He wasn't good. He wasn't a good ruler. He didn't know how to listen to his people. He didn't know how to plan a strategic war. Nothing was important to him except that he have his happy little life with his family and his children, and etc. But to me, it just explained a lot of things, right? I mean, Trump's absolute love of Russia, he will just not find fault in it. And the lavish display of gold that seems to attract the man, and the fact that he doesn't listen to what people are saying around him. He really does think he's a king. And so this lady did the most fascinating thing. It just went up like a couple days ago. I think she recorded it on President's Day. And from what I can figure out, it's not sort of something that she typically does on her channel. But she did Trump's horoscope. And it was strange the way she did it, because she didn't use the planet so much as she used the asteroids. But irregardless, she came up with the fact that Trump had been, in a previous incarnation, King George III. And then he, in fact, was the Russian Tsar Nicholas of the Romanovs. Now, Nicholas had a very, very best friend named George, who was King George V. So if you follow that logically, it means when he was Nicholas in Russia, he was best friends with his grandson from England. So I feel vindicated, frankly. So give her a look, check it out. From what I understood, she was going to do another horoscope on him kind of going forward, because the one she did clearly was going backward. But the way it got put together, and it was just fascinating to listen to. So if you're so inclined, feel free, but it was very, very interesting. So just intuitively, I'll tell you that Barr's in a lot of trouble. He has lost whatever standing he had. And he is starting to realize that he's not in a good place and not in a good position. But at this point, I'm not actually seeing him making any move to try to rectify it. It feels very much like he's crossing his arms across that big barrel chest of his, and he's saying, go ahead, make me move. You can't make me move. I'm not going to move. So there's that. Yeah. Okay. So the other day I was watching Rachel Maddow, and something came up that was really, really interesting that I was sort of either had forgotten or was unaware of. In March, the Supreme Court is going to be making no, they're not going to be, they're going to be hearing arguments on whether or not Deutsche Bank has to release Trump and the Trump businesses, I guess, banking information. Now, every single other lower court, and he's gone through all of them, have agreed that he has to, and he just keeps, kicking it up and kicking it up. And so there's nowhere to go after the Supreme Court. And I strongly suspect that the Supreme Court is going to agree with all of the lower courts. And I think that in some ways this was a strategy of Trump's to sort of just drag everything out as long as it could be dragged out. So I don't know when an actual ruling might come, but I do know that opening arguments, or verbal arguments, or whatever they call them, are starting sometimes in March. So that's going to be really interesting, considering the fact that there was not only myself, but several others who keep seeing March as kind of a bit of a danger time for Trump. It could be a time where he exits. It was just a couple videos ago, I know I said, I can see March so clearly, and for the life of me, I can't figure out what's happening in March. One wonders if this isn't part of what might send good old Donald right around the bend, because if Donald Trump is ordered by the Supreme Court, well, okay, he's not ordered. Deutsche Bank would be ordered to release this information, and Trump stepped in as president and stopped it, that would actually create a full-blown constitutional crisis from what I understand. And it really does make you wonder how many people would actually tolerate him flat out defying the Supreme Court. So that's going to be really, really interesting to watch. So I thought today I would just take a little look at Trump and money and just see if we can get any clarity or any sort of a heads up on what that might look like for him in terms of people being ordered by court to release documentation, to share what they have. And I'm assuming that that would be not only company banking records, but I would assume possibly his personal taxes or the like. So that's going to be super duper interesting. So come on down, because I have a question. I'm wanting to find out about Trump and his money and what exactly is it that he is so scared of? Because scared he absolutely is. Okay, I'm going to push this back. Move this up a little bit. That over there. Okay, here we go. Trump money secrets. Trump money secrets. Trump money secrets. Oh my God. People, sometimes you cannot plan this better. So what we have is my Trump card, one of my Trump cards, and we have the sun illuminating the whole area around him and his money. He is fervently wishing that the Supreme Court will magically side with him. he does not want anybody looking at all of the past banking transactions because there's going to be so many irregularities in there that it's almost going to be impossible for it to be ignored or pushed under the rug. He doesn't want to be left out in the cold. He fears that if the real truth comes out, he's not going to end up so well. I also saw there was a new book being released, I think it was yesterday, called Dark Towers. That was a book that a journalist wrote about the Trump Organization and money, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that they were saying was that part of the reason that Deutsche Bank continued to give, Trump money, was that it had been guaranteed by Russia. And there were also concerns about going against Trump or what Trump wanted because of his, I believe the quote was, considerable ties to the mob, or some variation of that. So there's a lot going on that he's desperately trying to keep hidden. And that banging is Ellie. She's chasing a pink flamingo. That he is desperate, just desperate to keep. And you know what? Geez, it's not looking like it's going to go so well for him. It absolutely looks like he's going to be trapped. He's going to have to, the bank is going to have to release it. And that's what's so interesting, right? Because it's not Trump. It's not Trump who has to physically do it. It is Deutsche Bank who has to release the information. And so aside from him just stomping up and down and demanding that he's king of the castle and he doesn't want it happening, there really is nothing he can do because Deutsche Bank will be ordered to do exactly what the Supreme Court says. Now, it is possible, I guess, tiny possible, that the Supreme Court may actually rule in Trump's favor. I don't believe that's going to happen. It definitely looks like there is, first of all, you have all of those previous court decisions. But more than that, it just feels like this is really, really not a precedent you want to set where you have the president of the United States who just defies everything. I don't see that going well. And I think if Deutsche Bank tries to listen to them or tries to listen to Trump, not only is Deutsche Bank going to end up in a world of hurt, but it's going to end up coming out anyways. And there's stuff in there, oh my Lord, there is stuff in there about international business dealing and money being laundered and money coming from different places, favors, quote unquote, being taken care of. This also involves the Kushner and the Kushner family. And this sort of, I think this whole thing started or was part of the puzzle was when one of the employees of Deutsche Bank flagged Jared Kushner's accounts because there was way too much foreign money flowing into his account and the foreign money did not have any details or paperwork behind it. And so it was flagged as being, suspicious or of a concern. So this is like the whole cabal of them could really, really end up way more exposed than I think that they frankly think they can, because there's definitely that sense that, they really do view themselves as royalty and above the law. So that is going to be fascinating. And I actually think at that point, you really may see the GOP starting to splinter a little bit and pulling back, because everybody else on the planet, on the world, everybody else in the North America, whatever, you get my point, in the countries that have courts that make those kinds of decisions, you just can't flip your nose at them and say, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Excuse me, I'm just going to go on my own way. Thank you. So I think that even the GOP may say, listen, you cannot, I don't know that they're going to do this publicly, but they may tell him to calm down and settle down because this is really not a precedent that he cannot set. Is this enough? Is the threat of this information coming out enough to cause Trump to actually seriously consider leaving office. Oh, these cards are brilliant. I am sorry. So now we have the Fool and King of Pentacles sitting on top of each other. The Devil has showed up and the Magician. So the Devil is talking literally about dirty deals, deals that he wants to keep secret, things that he does not want get out in public. But the bottom line here, he's used up all his tools. He's used them all up. And all he has left is the truth coming out. And that, frankly, really, really frightens him. It's all about the money. It always was about the money. He is really frightened about how far back they may go, how far back the records are going to go. And, you know, in some ways, he actually doesn't remember a lot of the details of a lot of the deals. And so it is possible that he's actually not sure when certain things take place. So he's actually not sure about whether what's going to be subpoenaed is in there or not, because he's not clear about, you know, when a specific deal was made with Russia, or when a specific deal was made with Saudi Arabia, or when, right? The dates and that clarity and the Christmas is not there. So it's actually causing him a tremendous amount of anxiety, because he feels very much like the ground underneath him is really, really unstable. His money is the one thing that he will literally go to war over. It really is quite remarkable. And, you know, not to go back to this Marla Kelly, but it was King George III who, when the revolution in the United States happened, they were fighting against his rule. And the Romanovs ended up being killed in a revolution in Russia. So what I'm saying is, this guy does not hesitate to start wars. He just doesn't. It's part of his MO. It's part of what he does and what he has experienced previously. And so he will do whatever it takes to prevent that information coming out from the money. Whether he will actually leave the office, I don't know yet, but it definitely looks like he's going to be incredibly defensive and really backed into a corner and really not have a way out. Oi. Okay. The government, the tower falling down, Trump Tower literally coming down, and that creating the end. So, you know, here we have it, right? I mean, literally, here we have it. You have the tower. You have death. You have the devil. You have the illumination that he cannot tolerate. And you have his fear of ultimately being left out in the cold because of the information that's going to be released. Now, you know what? It's only his supporters and people who are a little delusional who actually believe that this guy is even a millionaire. I think the only millions that Trump counts is actually how many millions of debt he has accumulated. And the Kushners, frankly, are the same way, as near as I can tell from, you know, Jared and that complex or apartment or whatever that building was that he ended up having to, but basically that Saudi Arabia, I guess it was, you know, bailed him out on. So this is a super, super, super sensitive subject. It makes him kind of crazy, and it brings out his most aggressive and toxic sort of behaviors. And there's so many dirty deals. There's so much, and he is so worried about what's going to come out. And I have to tell you, with the sun sitting here and the star sitting here, you really are in a position where the illumination is going to prove very helpful. It was going to bring clarity. It's going to take things from the fog or from the dark or behind the cloud, and it's going to start pushing them forward front and center. But definitely there is some significant aggression that is going to happen as that thing moves closer to when those verbal arguments start, and even more once there is sort of a timeline or a date determined in terms of when they are going to reach their ruling. So this should prove to be a very, very interesting period of time going forward. He's going to be communicating like a fool. Okay, he is going to be tweeting and yelling under the blades of a helicopter and carrying on and carrying on. But when it comes right down to it, ultimately, I think the American people and even Congress is actually going to see the question as not if Donald Trump has to let this stuff be released, but if the country as a whole can tolerate the president defying or causing to be defied a Supreme Court order. That's going to be the concern, and that's going to be the worry. And again, are we going to know about this publicly? Probably not. Might come out in background. Somebody might, report an anonymous source says. But a lot of this is going to be played out behind. The actual friction between the GOP and him is going to be played out behind the scenes. In public, he's going to be communicating loud and long and erratically, because he just somehow wants to figure out a way to make this thing move forward and go away, and it's not going to, because there were partnerships that, frankly, were illegal, or activities that were illegal in your country. And that cannot be brushed under the rug when there is so much of it. This was not a one-time or two-time deal. This was how business was conducted. This was standard operating procedure. So there is so much dirt. And again, that's only one segment of it. Even if Deutsche Bank releases everything, that's only a part of what ultimately there is that could come out. He's not going to be in good shape over this. I can actually see significant health problems as a result. And again, he's just terrified of the secrets coming out and justice coming down on him, government justice, because I think at that point he's sort of smart enough to recognize that this is something he is just simply not going to get away with. And when that actually penetrates, and when he completely recognizes and realizes that, he's really going to have some tough decisions to make. I can absolutely see him making a deal saying, you know what, you stop these investigations and I will leave. I mean, that is what his sister did, right? When that information came out a little while ago about the family business and the money and the way it was sort of distributed and sheltered and moved around from place to place. I mean, his sister, the judge, left the courts to stop the investigation into her part in that whole money system. So there is actually the potential that could happen. Do not take me to the bank on this. I've told you that March looks really dicey for him, as does September. And then November also, of course, if he actually hangs in there to the election, November is going to be a bit of a choppy month for him too. So yeah, so there we have it. Yeah. It's more of the same, right? It's secrets across the water with businesses and enterprises that, it maybe wasn't technically exactly okay for him to be dealing with. And you have him really doing everything he can to try to keep a lid on that, because he knows that it's not going to look very good for him. Now, if Barr is still in office, I guess to some degree he'll try to buffer or protect him. But I'm not sure. Barr is going to be on a little bit of rocky ground. I don't know if he's going to be fired by Trump anytime soon. I'm not kind of feeling that. I do think, though, that there are going to be some investigations go on. And if he's not, if he doesn't remove himself, or if things don't level out, and he hasn't left before the election, once a new government is in place, he will be gone, and he's smart enough to understand that this albatross of being subservient to Trump is going to be following him around for the rest of his life, and maybe that's not such a good thing. All right. So, I mean, literally, secrets are coming out, people are happy, the people are victorious, and that's just how it's going to be. Okay, so thank you so much. Again, I always thank you for your likes and your subscribes and the subscriptions. The comments are so smart and witty. And I thank you today because they mean a great deal. And I'm very happy that you look me up and find me and spend some time with me. So until next time, take care, be well. We'll see you soon. Bye.